how we handled toddler sleep in our camper van. Now, we just got back from our first trip. It was incredible. I'm still trying to get my thoughts together about how amazing it was because it was just a lot. There's a lot to unpack. I did want to go over one of the most asked questions, and that is how we do handle sleep with a toddler in our new camper van. So as we were preparing for this trip, I did share what our plan was with our toddler bed in the front section of the cab. Where does your toddler sleep? Hopefully here. We have suction cups, we have rope, we have a travel cot. Yeah, she's not going anywhere. So just to give you an idea what we're doing, the cot is going to be on the seat. So we're not hanging her, we're not suspending her. She's supported by the seat, and we'll be putting an extra piece of wood under here. We have the suction cups with beaners on the end of them. This is because we can want to do easy up and easy down. These will be tensioned so that the cot lifts. When it's all tensioned properly, it's going to stay like that. Go for a sec. We're not too far off. And we've got a toddler bed. We're going to get insulated window coverings. That's going to be interesting with the suction cups. Didn't think of that. We'll probably, for the beginning, maybe cover stuff on the dash so she can't see it. Not sure yet. And just like that, a little bed. Cut this piece of wood so that now it sits all flat. Biggest reason for us putting her where we put her is because we then can use the rest of the van. So we have these blackout curtains. When she's ready, what are we going to do? You say, good morning, Alfie. No, she'll say, Mom, good morning, Mom. She is an incredible sleeper at home. We have a really good bedtime routine. We do dinner, we have a bath, we do a story, which we have done from day one. We don't actually physically read the book to her, but we say the story out loud, and we have done that with her since she's a newborn. And honestly, she has slept 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. for basically her whole life. Right in the beginning, obviously, she was waking up for feeding and things like that. But for the most part, she has just been an incredible sleeper, averaging about 12 hours of sleep overnight uninterrupted, which means that we get a lot of time as a couple together. We also feel very rested because we get full solid nights of sleep, and we know that this isn't the case for everybody. So to those who aren't having a great time with sleep, whether it's a newborn or a toddler, we are thinking of you. We, however, are going to keep celebrating the fact that we feel like we've figured things out with her sleep and her routine, and we wanted to keep as much of that routine that we have at home on the road. And so we absolutely had the same story that we read every single night, and we made it as dark as in there as possible as we could for our first trip, which I'll be sharing a little bit more on about later, because there are some improvements that we do want to make to that section. But that's pretty much what our setup was like. We did think initially we'd be those people that just let her sleep anywhere. If she wants to have a nap on us when we're by the beach, she can do that, and we'll keep going out to restaurants and she can just sleep in the pram. And maybe that worked for a little portion of that newborn bubble where they just sleep a lot. For us, now that we're in, like, she's just so alert, she's such a toddler, she loves her sleep environment. So for us, she knows that routine, she loves that routine, and so we're just trying to keep that routine going as much as we can while we're on the road. So I would say the sleep environment is one of the most important things, because that's what helps them become familiar that it is time for sleep. And so for us, there is a tune that we play. It's called Riff Raff. Our beautiful friend Meg got us this present, and it has like a lullaby on it. Well, we actually forgot Riff Raff, which is like, oh my gosh, what have we done? Parent fail. And so we forgot Riff Raff. So we actually had to find on YouTube the lullaby that Riff Raff does. We did our bedtime story, which we always do every single time before she goes to bed in her nap or her overnight sleep. And then we kept it as black as possible. So this was mainly for her night sleep. So that's what works for us. That's what works at home. And so we wanted to replicate that sleep environment here in the van as much as we could. So let's dive into some of the sleep challenges, because I mean, for a first trip, it did go pretty well, but there were a few. So number one, we didn't allow enough time for us to get window shades, window coverings. Let me show you what I mean. These are window coverings. Now, these ones came with the van. We're actually in the process of figuring out the new ones that we are going to be getting. At the front, we have nothing. There's these curtains, which I'll show you in a second. We need to get these for the front, the big front windshield, and then the two side windows, because we had nothing. and we Jimmy rigged up a bunch of blankets with duct tape, and it was less than ideal, and it created quite a few challenges because she would be pulling them down. They weren't completely black. One of the blankets was blue, so it made the whole room feel blue. But that was one of our biggest obstacles. That was one of the biggest challenges that we had with the sleep, was that it was light in there and it was just weird. She knew it was weird, we knew it was weird, it was just weird. Okay, and so now I'll show you these curtains, because these actually are really helpful. So we have complete blackout curtains here. They are a bit like, I feel like soundproof in a way as well. They're kind of like a blockout material. And then we just used these pegs. So these were actually purchased for us to do laundry, have like a laundry line and hang laundry, but my goodness, they came in handy. So get yourself a set of pegs if you're doing toddler van life. And so what we would do is, when we put her in there in her cot into bed, we would just, so that she couldn't open them, because she can definitely stand up and open these blinds. So to try and prevent that as much as possible, we just pegged these all the way down so that it stayed secure, it stayed closed. Now, I won't lie to you, there were times where we had to keep unpegging and repegging because she did get in there and rip open the blinds. Again, I think because it was the first time, she's still just getting used to it. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know why I put her in the front of a van. But these blackout curtains were a huge help, and I highly recommend them if you have a van and you're trying to figure out where to sleep. They are just amazing. So definitely love the whole curtain idea. So the other thing I would say is that we weren't afraid to adjust our routine a little bit. So while at home, we do run a pretty tight ship in terms of we don't go past her bedtime. I mean, every now and then there's things that come up, and we're totally fine to be flexible, but honestly, it backfires on us. Anytime we're like, yeah, let's take you to this concert and let's have a fun night, we end up with a very tired, very cranky toddler, and that goes into like the next day or two as well. So she likes her routine. We like her routine. We're at home most of the time. So we wanted to obviously keep that routine as much as possible, but we're so open to being flexible. So we weren't watching the clock to make sure we have dinner by this time, make sure bath happens at this time, make sure bed happens at that time. We just really tried to be as flexible as possible, but by the end of a long day, she was absolutely cooked. And so I think there was a little bit of overtiredness coming in as well, which does make it hard for these little humans to sleep. So the last thing that I will talk about in terms of overcoming challenges was probably the most challenging part. She would cry and she would scream when we would put her down, and we'd come in and we'd say, lie down, and she would, but then we would stand on the back of the chairs and reach over and tap her bum, because that's what she likes. That's how we can help her. That's how we can settle her. And so we did spend a lot of time, and when I say a lot, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not a lot. And we were really good at not picking her up. We didn't want to pick her up and try and rock her, because she's getting heavy now and she knows how to sleep. So we wanted to help her as much as we could, because she's in a brand new environment. Obviously, she wasn't happy. So we would spend a lot of time up on our tippy toes, reaching over into the cot and tapping her on the butt. And I would say that that was one of the biggest challenges, because you tap, 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 tap. You think she's asleep. You can't really see her because it's dark in there. And then you try and creep out of the van. And then a minute later, she's crying and screaming and standing up again and pulling on everything. So it was just a bit of repeating of that. Also, we went to a campsite, and so we didn't want to just leave her screaming. We didn't want to let her settle herself as much as we probably would at home. We have done a pretty good job, I think, at helping her by stepping back and letting her do some crying. I know that's a very controversial topic out there in the toddler and baby sleep world. It has worked for us. It has worked well for us. And so probably if we weren't in a campsite with other people around, we probably would have stepped back a little bit more. We have tons of ideas and places and trips we want to go on that are a lot more isolated, and so we won't have any problems in doing that. And I think just in general, she is going to get better at sleeping in this space. This was just our first few nights, so it was a little rough, and once she was asleep, she would go to sleep and have an awesome sleep, but the getting to sleep process was a little challenging. Here are my tips. Here are my tips for trying to tackle toddler sleep in a camper van. Keep your routine as consistent as possible. Have the things that really help you. So if that's white noise, if that's a dummy, if that's something that they hold on to and soothe with, make sure you've got those things with you. It sounds like common sense, but we forgot one of the most crucial things in her sleep time routine with riffraff. So I just want to share that as a tip. Try and be as prepared as possible by having the things that you would have during a normal bedtime routine at home when it normally goes well. Last tip is that just be flexible, but don't think it's impossible. You can do this. So if you want to get out there, don't let things hold you back. Life can still be lived, and you can still do the things that you want to do. This having this van has been a dream of mine for over 10 years now, and I've talked to Kelsey I don't know how many times about it. And now we finally have it. And after, I think that's why I have so many feelings about it, because after just returning from a few nights away in it, my heart feels exploding full of what is ahead for us and our family. And I just have to say, like, that's my tip. Don't give up. Don't think that you can't do it. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've seen videos of people that have so many children in camper vans, and they're traveling around and they're having hard times, but the best times. And so if it is something that you want to do, don't think it's impossible. You can do it. We're doing it. And that's why I'm sharing what we are doing, because I think it can be hard to find very realistic and raw content about what people are doing when it comes to sleep. And so there you have it. That's how we tackle sleep in a camper van with a little toddler.